This episode is made possible by NetSuite by Oracle and Brex, the AI-powered spend platform.
Hi, this is Allison Tala, CFO of Fundrise, and you are listening to CFO Thought Leader Podcast.
This is episode 987.
I think what is evolving is how do you bring generative AI into the customer experience? Does it create more customized touch points? Does it create servicing at lower cost? Those are the kinds of questions we're starting to explore. And then I think in operations, every department is having kind of their own evaluations of what AI can do for them. One big important thing for us is also to ensure that the data security is all there with whatever vendor or platform we bring in.
Hi, it's Jack. On today's episode, we speak with Jennifer Loo, CFO of Tala. Back in 2009, with a law degree in hand and some frontline consulting experience, Jennifer Loo swung open the door at LegalZoom, where in short order she'd be tasked with architecting the fast-growing company's FP&A function from the ground up. For Loo, the responsibilities that would quickly surface at LegalZoom didn't validate her qualifications for any one job. Instead, it was as if an entire career path was rising to meet her, acknowledging her education, past experience, and future potential. You'll hear that story and much more on today's episode. We'll begin after this. CFOs and controllers, does expense management feel like a necessary evil? It's time to switch to Brex. Brex automates and accelerates spend management with easy-to-use corporate cards, travel, expense management, and bill pay, all on one AI-powered platform. Brex makes it easy to boost efficiency and compliance enterprise-wide and free up your managers, employees, and accounting team for higher impact work. Top companies from startups to enterprises are using Brex to automate manual work and transform their finance operations. We're talking DoorDash, Robinhood, Airtable, and countless other industry leaders. Ready to join them? Switch to AI-powered spend management at Brex.com. Hello, we're speaking with Jennifer Loo, CFO of Tala. Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, Jack. Thanks for having me.
So, Jennifer, as always, we're going to begin with asking you to look back for us. And looking back in time, we're hoping you'll identify for us some of those experiences you feel prepared you to become a CFO. What would come to mind for you?
So I didn't exactly start out thinking I would be in finance. I graduated UC Berkeley with degrees in business and economics. With that background, it's probably no surprise I ended up in management consulting. My first job was at LEK Consulting here in LA, really focused on the tech and media space. I think a lot of people will tell you it's a great first job. It really is. It was a boot camp for learning about all aspects of business, about different industries. You learn to become an expert in anything in 2 days. But I think what was really compelling about my time there, what I learned early on was that, coming into the business world, I thought companies were a monolith. They were one human with everyone swimming in the same direction. But what I saw as a consultant in LEK is that there were just so many stakeholders and so many different motivations. You saw that from project to project. Sometimes you would find that the board was imposing something on management. Sometimes you found a department within a company trying to advocate for a strategy or a perspective, and they needed a third-party view to sort of push that. And I think that was a really important thing to recognize early on because, especially as I eventually went into finance, it helped me understand and engage with different stakeholders to really unpack what motivated them, what drove them, and how do you bring that together and pull that together in a company strategy.
That's a great first example for us. But just the view into all the different stakeholders, we haven't had anyone quite point that out to us. So thank you for that. How long do you stay in consulting? Is it something where you thought you were always going somewhere else anyway, or how did you feel about your?
What they didn't know is I actually had an offer to go to NYU Law. I actually deferred a year to work. I wanted work experience, but I kept it open. I thought, hey, I could love this and I will stay there. Or I will go back to school to continue sort of evolving my business perspective. And I guess 80-hour work weeks weren't enough. I wanted 100-hour work weeks. So I went after corporate law. I went to NYU and I graduated in 2009, which some people will remember was a tricky time. I was fortunate to graduate with an offer to an Am Law 100 firm, but a deferral for 6 months. So I was super excited I'm like, I'm going to take the best bar trip. I'm traveling around the world. I'm going to put law school behind me. This is great. What I did not expect actually was to find myself with an opportunity to build LegalZoom's first FP&A function from the ground up. Came through an LEK contact. It was the then CEO of LegalZoom. He needed someone to build his budget. He promised it would be 2 weeks or 2 months of work. It would pay for my trip. I was super excited by that. 2 months turned into almost 6 years. So that was probably, it was a phenomenal opportunity. It was obviously a fork in the road for me. I walked away from what would have been a corporate law career. And it was an important lesson that I learned early on, which is you can't time opportunity. And really, you have to be open-minded enough to even see it. I think that's important for personal journeys, but really important for a finance role because, it's easy for us to get we run strategic planning processes. We run budgeting processes. We are constantly thinking about structure and what's next and roadmaps. And the reality is that sometimes the biggest opportunities for a company are the ones that you didn't have planned on December 31st the year before. So having the open-mindedness, the flexibility, and frankly, the grace to give yourself room to adapt and pivot is actually pretty important. And you'll often be surprised and probably happier with what you end up with than what you started out with.
Wow, that is kind of a remarkable story when you think about it. You've got the consulting experience, but you're still thinking, I have to get this law degree. I want to go down this path.
But here's this other opportunity.
You said an LEK contact perhaps pointed the opportunity out to you, I think. That makes perfect sense because they knew you had the skill set to step into maybe a corporate finance environment and hold your own. What else struck me? Okay, LegalZoom. You land at LegalZoom, and we know that you climb the ranks and you do enter the do you enter the CFO office? No, you get to a very senior level. Forgive me. You get to a very senior level at LegalZoom. Can you tell us something about the growth that company experienced during that period? Looking back, I remember just hearing about it on television or whatever the commercials were, and it was a fast-growing phenomenon. What would you tell us?
It was definitely a period of growth. I was really fortunate to be there actually at a point of pivot for the business or evolution for the business. They were always focused on delivering transactional products. So you need your last will and testament, you need a trust, you want to start your business, they were there for you. When I was there early in my time there, they were starting to think about, well, the reality is, as a small business owner or as a family member, you have a lot of legal needs over the course of your life or the lifespan of your business. how can LegalZoom actually be a partner to you throughout? So they introduced, and this was before subscriptions and recurring revenue were the thing. They introduced a subscription plan that allowed you access to attorneys anytime you wanted. And if it became a bigger matter, you received discounted rates. And most critically, it was access to a different kind of attorney. It wasn't one that was worried about the billable hour. It was really one that was worried about solving your legal problems, right? And helping you navigate the legal construct. So it was exciting. It was a pretty novel idea. I mean, this was before we had to build our own recurring payment system. That's how new it was. So it was really exciting to be a part of that. And I think, that really took off and became a big part of the business.
Now, in short order, I think you join as a financial analyst, but in a matter of months, you're over strategic planning for the company. Again, here's this person with a rather young person with some consulting experience and a law degree, who obviously is able to speak the language of both sides of the house. How am I doing?
Great. What was so fun about the job was I didn't fully have to leave the law, right? I got to work on a legal product and ultimately do what I set out to do when I entered law school, which is to solve legal issues, right? I did it in a different way, in a scaled way,
But there's some satisfaction that comes with that, knowing that investment of time.
Yeah.
But again, you're kind of parachuting in here into the finance function.
Yeah.
Who is this person? Take over our planning. Why did they have such confidence in you? What was the quality that you had? I think it was the skills but you had to.
It was the skills. I remember, I was being brought in effectively almost as an intern, right? I had one task to do, and I was meeting the CFO for the first time, and he was like, "Can you even run an Excel spreadsheet? You went to law school." And I was like, I took notes in Excel. That's how much I love the program, right? The skill sets I learned in school, but really solidified at LEK were the very skills I leveraged. And again, going kind of back to that stakeholder point, that was hugely important for an FP&A function, right? Because I was talking to every executive VP in the business to understand their needs, their pain points, and had to transform that into a plan that would really optimize, I think, the opportunity of the pursuit of business opportunities. So I would say all those skills learned in admittedly a pretty short period of time served me then and still serve me today.
Did the CFO hire you at LegalZoom, or was it a tier below, or how did you?
I came in knowing the CEO, and he was a former LEK alum, and ultimately hired by the CFO when he decided he really did want to build out an FP&A function.
Did the company during that? Were there any milestones? I mean, did I forget LegalZoom's history here? Did it go public, or did it what?
Sore spot for me in that we attempted to go public. We were down to the last week, but the market actually turned. I think it was a testament to just how quickly a market can open and close. We were on the road at a tough time, but it did eventually go out a couple of years ago. So I'm really excited to find out there.
But you, again, I mentioned that you did climb the ranks. You became a VP of finance and business strategy and analytics. And it seems like you, along the way, got the mindset that you'd like to be CFO, because, of course, your next step is into a CFO role. I have to believe was that a recruiter who ultimately helps you make the move?
It was actually during my time at LegalZoom, I was encouraged by my CFO to get my exec MBA. And I was definitely the person that thought I'd work at LegalZoom forever. There was always something new to do. But as I was moving through the program, I got a different perspective, and I got the view that I could be in this seat. I could actually be a part of the leadership team and navigate company strategy. So I did make a tough decision to leave. I was still really enjoying my time there, but I did want to pursue a CFO path at that point.
All right. So it is a 10-year stretch from when you entered LEK to when you entered the CFO office, which is remarkable. But here you are with a law degree and years of consulting experience behind you. That makes you this rare candidate for this company advancing this new concept for legal services. And meanwhile, at LEK, had the client-facing role that so many accountants and even FP&A people don't have. You're looking into client organizations. How am I?
Yeah, you're spot on. And I think there was a lot of hard work. There was a lot of being open to learning and always pushing myself to stretch into different parts of the organization. Sitting in FP&A, we were the analytical hub. So we ran analytics for marketing, for product. We did analysis on the OpEx side. So we were in every aspect of the business. So it helped me understand every piece of it. And that was just a really important part of, I think, being in a CFO seat. You need to appreciate all the functions and, again, all the risks and opportunities. There was luck. I was at the right place at the right time. And I was fortunate to have a boss and a CEO that really invested in me and allowed me to stretch. I don't think I ever heard the phrase, "You can't do that" at LegalZoom. There was no area they didn't let me poke into or analysis to try out. And so I was really, really fortunate and very grateful for that opportunity.
What was there a time where you had to present maybe to the board for the first time, or as the CFO, and again, your CFO tapped you on the shoulder and said, "I want you in that meeting, and I'd like you to address some of these questions," something like that?
Yeah, my CFO was phenomenal. Like, he just opened doors for me. I was the one who built the model, ran the budget, and he made sure that I was at I finished the last mile, which is be at the board meetings. The first time was terrifying. I think I sat kind of as far back as I could, just kind of behind my laptop, ready to answer questions. But over time, it really became more of a conversation, and you realize that finance is a culmination and a summary of everything that the business is doing. So we are often looked to explain and kind of present the view. And so, as terrifying as it was the first time, it is part of my core function, I would say now.
When you leave, it's tech. As when the recruiter called, they knew, okay, Jennifer, it's tech, and she wants to be close to the C-suite, in that C-suite. How am I doing? Or are there other requirements that you might have said, don't call me back unless?
No, I think having started as a consultant, I had the mindset that I can tackle any industry. I do love technology, and really what I've done is really focus on direct to consumer over time. That's really become my wheelhouse. It's where I started. It's what I love. I feel like there's so many levers that you can analyze and dive into, and it makes it really fun. So that's largely where I've stayed.
Well, Jennifer, we might have a few more career-related questions for you, but right now let's find out about Tala. What type of company is it? What does it do? What are its offerings?
So I was fortunate early in my career to be exposed to a business that really believed in doing good while doing well, solving a bigger problem than really just the top and bottom lines. I've worked in 4 companies and 4 industries in the last 15 years. And the only through line I would say these companies had was the fact that they were solving big problems. I will say that hands down, there is not one company that was more audacious than Tala. Internally, we say that we are building the financial platform for the global majority. So the 4 billion people that are consistently overlooked and underserved by existing systems. They're not the poorest of the poor that are oftentimes served by governments and NGOs, and they are not the middle class plus that existing financial or traditional financial institutions typically focus on. So it's really that giant middle segment whose economic power totals $10 trillion. So that's our segment. What we do is actually deliver critical financial services, things that are so fundamental to us that sometimes we take for granted. The cornerstone product is really a credit product. We offer quick, instant access, underwritten via mobile app using machine learning. And we've been adding to that. We've been building really a financial platform that includes features like savings and transactions that just help make our customers' day-to-day financial lives a little easier and a little better. And we are currently functioning in 4 countries. We are in Kenya, Philippines, Mexico, and India, with expectations to go far beyond that.
Could you give us perhaps an abbreviated history of the company's capital structure?
Yes, we are a Series E company. We've raised collectively across debt and equity over $500 million. We really do focus on different kinds of debt facilities to fund our loan portfolios and to fuel our growth.
And you stepped in, and just to give a time frame here, you stepped in 2018. Can you give us a sense of into the CFO office there of your arrival there? What was this company then in terms of? I'm sure it's changed in certain ways, and strategically, perhaps there's been something of a change. Or what would you share with us versus today? I'm looking for what's happened over the 5 years.
Yeah. So when I entered, we were, despite having a foothold in Philippines and Mexico, we were largely a Kenya business. So we were just on the cusp of getting to scale our newer markets. We really only had one product, which was a short-term microcredit offering. And we were a much smaller team at the time.
Can you tell us along the way, was there a key hire for you, whether it was a controller or a leader for FP&A? I don't know.
I've always been in the position of building or rebuilding finance teams. I was really lucky when I joined Tala that they had a small handful of folks that were fantastic. And actually, a lot of them are still with me today. One was our then controller, now SVP of finance. She really had the groundworks already laid, the brickworks were already laid. So I did not have to spend a lot of time worrying about things like implementing an ERP system or vendor management or stock comp cleanup. We were really functioning pretty well on the fundamentals, and it allowed me the room and opportunity to really then focus on what FP&A can unlock by way of analytics, by way of growth, through data-driven insights. So I was very fortunate to have the team. We've since grown the team. We're now 40 strong globally across 6 countries. I want to say 8 time zones. And I'm just so proud of what the team has achieved. I will say our VP Global Controller was a very important hire, especially at a fintech where money is your inventory. Accounting truly is at the heart of the company's operations. So it's a highly operational, highly strategic role that I was very happy to fill with someone very, very skilled.
And did you help with then the Series E? Did you raise that round, or were there other rounds that you've raised?
Yeah, I have a tendency to join companies just as they're raising, which is a funny time to join because I think it's the 3rd time I was pitching being brand new to the seat within weeks of joining. So I actually was part of the Series D and Series E rounds.
Where, from your experience in the past, helped you do that? It seems like in some ways it was something a little different from what you had done, but maybe you had raised other money. I don't know.
You know what? At LegalZoom, it was interesting. A big difference at LegalZoom was that it was a private equity backed company rather than a VC backed, which meant that finance in particular was constantly being scrutinized. So in having to answer to the board, there was a lot of just, framing, storytelling, pitching and repitching happening. I think our journey through the IPO process, I was handling a lot of IR, so speaking directly to analysts. So that experience really geared me for fundraising.
Curious how along the way here at Tala, whether there was a metric that you began paying closer attention to that you could share with us, whether it was, over that period of time too, you perhaps became a little more savvy with the data, or the organization as a whole did. It was cleaned up. It was, more manageable, usable. And whether there are certain metrics today that you can rely on that you couldn't back then. I don't know, but we're just looking to see how you look at this business and whether you've got a metric that you've grown to depend on, rely on, love.
My favorite metric, again, being direct to consumer, my favorite metric is customer lifetime value. That I think there are a lot of sub metrics that go into that. But I do think that is the best roll up and summary of just how well you're doing. How well are you delivering customer value? How engaged are they? How sticky are they? How committed to you are they? And for us at Tala, that is actually the metric that underlies a lot of our decisioning from acquisition to credit underwriting. It has become hugely important and central to how we manage and run the business and measure, how well we're doing.
Was there a time it wasn't as important over the 5 years? And did the organization as a whole sort of learn together and realize why it was an important metric? Or was it calculated suddenly, some of the sub metrics, or what you referred to, the components, you changed a component and suddenly there was an aha, this is much more effective. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I think when I started, it was definitely known to be an important measure, but it wasn't something that we consistently revisited and tracked over time. And in some cases, it was, very disparate data sources and so forth. And that was a huge area of focus for my FP&A team to flesh out that metric, ensure we had all the sources, because obviously it has revenue, it has all the variable expenses and so forth, and you're tracking it over time, right? So it really is kind of a longitudinal view. So we just improved our methodology, we improved our data sourcing, we stabilized the reporting, and once we got consistency, we were able to then unpack the patterns. That is also how we found opportunity, right? And we would dig into the sub metrics that built or rolled up into LTV.
If we were to sit down with your FP&A team and the door swings open and Jennifer is standing there, what are they thinking Jennifer's going to ask them? What are they thinking? Oh no, she's going to ask us about this. What is it that?
They know I love asking questions. I think today I'm really focused on how do we continue to drive step function growth. We have seen phenomenal performance despite COVID, despite the macroeconomic environment. And I'm orienting the team around what's next. I think there's a lot of product innovation, product extension that we can tackle. There are segments to explore. So there's a lot of future-facing kind of work now.
Part of your answer was the first sentence, I thought, which caught my attention, which was they know I'm going to ask lots of questions. Do you think that's part of your leadership style then?
Yeah, questions is a big part of it. And the thing I always worry about is people misconstruing that because I'm trying to get that gotcha moment. It really
Yeah.
is not. It's to help understanding. It doesn't help that I went to law school, the whole Socratic method thing, but also, but really, it is a way to sort of understand, right? First and foremost, especially when, let's say, the team is presenting an analysis, really being able to get to the so what. I kind of need to understand the journey on how they got there, what they were thinking about, what they consider, what they threw out, right? So I find questions are just it's an important mechanism to bridge understanding.
I want to just touch on AI with you. The conversations have taken place in every part of the organization, no doubt. But as CFO, have you begun to really think about how AI can create more of a competitive advantage for the company in one way or another?
Well, I should note that our business was really founded on AI, machine learning end of it, less the generative AI. But AI or machine learning is really what is underneath all our decisioning, right? So our credit underwriting, our identity verification, our fraud protections, and even in some cases, customer engagement and interactions. So it is fundamental to our thesis, and it is our part of our secret sauce. So it's always been in our DNA. I think what is evolving is how do you bring generative AI into the customer experience? Does it create more customized touch points? Does it create servicing at lower cost? Those are the kinds of questions we're starting to explore. And then I think in operations, every department is having kind of their own evaluations of what AI can do for them. I'm constantly being pitched AI solutions in finance. We have plenty of companies telling us they can figure out our spend and identify cost cutting opportunities. For example, I think our team was just looking at something a couple of weeks ago. But it's still nascent, right? It's still nascent. I think there's still a lot of evolution to happen. And one big important thing for us is also to ensure that the data security is all there with whatever vendor or platform we bring in. Understanding.
Well, thank you for that. We're going to move to what we refer to as our finance strategic moment question. And we're just looking for one moment of insight you experienced along the way. You've already shared a few of these, but we're hoping you'll share one more with us. What comes to mind when we ask for a finance strategic moment?
When we talk about that, I feel like it's hard to ignore the black swan that COVID was. Something that really stands out for me is March 2020. Sunday afternoon, after stay-at-home orders were issued in the US, I was on the phone with our CEO, our head of credit, my now SVP of finance, and my head of finance in Kenya. And it was really, what now? we are facing an unprecedented situation. The company moved very fast to ensure business continuity, but there was a question of how we manage the business in a time where we didn't know what the next day or week looked like. And there was a moment where our head of finance actually said, well, it's pretty easy. You focus on the customer. And I feel like that actually really simplified a lot of things and put things into very clear perspective. So what that kicked off was a pretty substantive change in what we focused on the Monday after. So, for example, we have an entire collections program, right? We have automated messaging through SMS, through phone calls. We immediately shifted hundreds of automated messages to actually focus instead on from collections to really helping our customers feel a little less stressed about their situation. We focused on financial education. We focused on supporting the customer. We took a practice that happened in onesies and twosies around waivers and payment plans, and we actually developed a scaled solution that we rolled out to our entire borrowing base because we knew they were in a very challenging situation where not only did economic activity stop in some countries, they couldn't leave the house. So certainly that makes going to the store and repaying your loan a little harder. So this customer centricity actually yielded massive dividends for us. We were able to come out of a tough time with strong business performance, with a healthy balance sheet. But I think what I'm most proud of is the fact that we came out retaining our customer base. And in some cases, with even stronger brand recognition than before COVID because of how we handled the crisis. So it's a huge reminder that at the core of running a healthy business with healthy financials is actually always focusing on the customer. And the learnings that came out of that actually after is what fueled a lot of innovation for us. We saw customer behavior change. We saw them start adopting digital products in a new way. Even in historically cash-based countries like Philippines and Mexico. So that is really what led us to think about incorporating digital payment solutions into our platform and savings products into our platform. So not only did it kind of that mindset help us navigate a difficult period of not only Tala's history, I would say the world's history. It actually helped us innovate.
$37,025.1. These are the three numbers to remember to get the visibility and control you need to make the right business decisions instantly. 37,000. That's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down expenses. 1. Because your business is one of a kind, you should get a customized solution for all of your KPIs in one efficient system and with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need, all in one place. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist designed to give you consistently excellent performance, absolutely free, at netsuite.com/KPI. That's netsuite.com/KPI.
We're going to jump to our mentoring round where I'll ask you several quick questions intended to inform and inspire future finance leaders. So you've left LegalZoom and you step into your first CFO role, and we're wondering what it is that you wish somebody had told you, because that first 90 days, that first 60 to 90 days, we're going to give you a pass so you can go back in time and tell yourself this. What is it that you would tell yourself when you were in that role such a short amount of time? There must have been something you wish you knew about. I didn't expect this. No.
I was at a leadership summit last week, and someone shared a quote that I think I really loved. It was, "Work hard and keep your head up." That is not something finance folks always remember to do. It's very much work hard and keep your head down, right? Because you're buried in spreadsheets, you have month-end close, you have audits, you have board meetings to navigate. There's always so much internally that you're sort of pushing through. But the reality is you have to keep your head up. I think that means a number of things. It means really pulling back from the details to look at what's around you, what's ahead. It means actually engaging in the organization. It means engaging externally because there's so much to be learned from other people's experiences and perspectives. It means creating spheres of influence. And it means developing your voice. So I think that was something that obviously I had to learn and piece together over time because it was very natural to be a VP of finance who is in all the inner workings of the business to be a CFO with that same lens. But every day I have to remember there's much more than just what's in front of us. So keep your head up.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. Great takeaway for us. We always like to ask our guests to reflect a little on the personal side. We're wondering if there's something your colleagues might not know about you, something you do, something you've done in the past, something that sets you apart.
Oh my goodness. So this is something I picked up during COVID. I actually picked up ceramics at the encouragement of a fellow finance team member. It's something that was a very socially distanced activity to do during COVID, but I have turned back to it and sustained for now a couple of years because it's a great way to use a different part of my brain. It is a great way to, I mean, we never stop these days, right? Emails, Slack. I work at a global company where there is not a single hour in a day that someone is not engaged in asking something. So I could always be on. But when
So you have a lathe. You have a lathe?
I do, I go to a studio, but yeah.
Have you tracked your progress? Do you have a pot that's in the corner and it just has sentimental value? It's awful, but now it was your first pot.
I, I don't create for perfection. I just do what's fun.
Have you given them as gifts?
I have. My dad has said, please stop doing this. We have too much. I know little things get replaced in the house with very weird looking replacements, but who cares? It's fun.
Well, that's a great one actually. I haven't heard that before, so thank you for that. What about a book recommendation? And I always point out it doesn't have to be a business book. It might be something you escape with. It might be an interest. Maybe it's just a resource and not a book, meaning a podcast. I don't know. Anything come to mind?
So I will have to admit, I stopped reading business books after B school. I just candidly, I like articles. They're much more to the point on that front. Number one. Number two, they're not well written. So when I have time to read, I actually like to read fiction. I am not wedded to any genre, but I like good writing.
So I want to point out, and we never talked about it, but I guess were you at LegalZoom when you went to business school, or did that? Yeah, you were at LegalZoom.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I was.
So you went back to, okay, you got the law degree, you went back and you got the MBA. Is that right? Or
I know my CFO really encouraged me. I think he went through an exec MBA program himself. He thought it was really transformative and really encouraged me to do the same.
And you felt it was worthwhile, given the fact you stepped into a CFO role in the short time frame afterwards.
As you can see, I probably have one too many degrees under my belt, but I will say it was my favorite schooling experience because it was an opportunity to real time unpack things I was dealing with at work, be it from a leadership perspective or a strategy perspective or in different functions. It was really powerful to be able to read a case and have classmates that were like, I was there when this happened, or you are able to go back to work the next week and actually apply a lot of what you were talking about or learning. So I was a little skeptical at first, to be honest, but it turned out to be a phenomenal experience.
Well, great. We are up to our final question, where we're going to ask you to look forward finally, 12 months, and we're wondering what your CFO priorities are for that period, for that 12-month period.
the same thing I would look to my FP&A team and my finance team to do, which is, really build for getting ahead. Our CEO at Tala, she wanted to build a generational company, right? And that's year to year. That means adding new things, serving more people. So I am excited to get out of the caution I think that COVID and sort of the macro environment has imposed on a lot of companies and get back to bolder growth.
Jennifer Loo, thank you for joining us on CFO Thought Leader.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Thought Leader listeners. We hope 2024 is treating you well. If you haven't already, we hope you'll pay a visit to CFOThoughtLeader.com and go ahead and subscribe to our Mentoring Round newsletter, where we highlight the career lessons and moments of strategic insight shared by our recent CFO guests. Also, LinkedIn users, please go ahead and follow our CFO Thought Leader company page, and you'll be certain not to miss a single Thought Leader video debut. CFO Thought Leader, the #1 thought leadership platform exclusively for and by CFOs. As always, thank you for listening.